It's no lightweight, about 7 pounds, 6.94 pounds with the shock. Once I take the shock off, I'm going to weigh it again and see how much it weighs without the shock, and we'll go from there. Alright, so here we have the frame that we're going to be working on, and what we're going to need is, a 5mm hex here to remove the shock, and we're going to need a 19mm here to remove the arm. This shock on the other side has the 10mm nut, so we'll use a 10mm there. And hopefully it comes out pretty easy. We've got the shock. I'm using those Harbor Freight hexes that I showed on the other video. Then we want to make sure we keep this straight. It's pretty straightforward. We have a washer on each side and a lock nut. Alright, so that's the top. Then just remove the bottom. We have the nut down there. So the shock, the APS 4, comes off the bottom. I'm thinking there's these little bushings here that I'm thinking are going to have to come out. So I'll go ahead and get a flathead screwdriver and carefully take those out. Since this isn't coming out, that means those bushings are going into the frame. And that's what this is about. It's a learning experience. But so we got the little bushings here, and I'm gonna very gently pry them out. That's an aluminum edge there, so gotta be careful that doesn't get damaged. This one's coming out a little easier. Alright, so now I'm going to find something that won't damage that little plastic something and get under that, because I do not want to damage that this aluminum with the screwdriver, and because I'm pretty sure they're going to be hard to find. Alright, so I'm back with an assortment of plastic. There we go. That did it without any damage. And let's see if I can get under this one, or if I have to try it a little more. Oh, it looks like I can get almost under it. The good thing is this will not damage it, which is what I was afraid of with the screwdriver. You know, I might have to go back to the screwdriver, because this one is in there and does not want to come out. There we go. Alright. So we got the two bushings out using these plastic wedges there, and shock comes out. There's what I probably can't see it because that's in the way, but there we go. Probably there. That's what 30 years 23 years of grind looks like. Alright. So this just in a conventional counterclockwise direction, and the opposite side is not turning, so it looks like they're independent of each other. Here. Or what I'm thinking is that this is an axle, on the other side might be a nut. We'll see. Once again, it's a learning experience. I have not removed these in the past. Haven't seen any videos on how to do this on anybody dismantling a Super V either. So sure if I look hard enough, there's probably some videos on how to do this out there for somebody else doing it. If not, that'd be neat. Be the first. Yeah. So the other side looks like it's an actual bolt. So we got the one side. Okay, that's the spacer that's going to go between the frame and the swing arm. Good documentation for myself in case I get lost later. And I actually think this since this is threaded on the inside, there's actually a bolt there. And I'm thinking that bolt, if I get it just right, just pushes out. So what I found was hammer, of course, and I got this little aluminum bar that is smaller than, so it's about the size of the bolt in there, so that I don't damage those threads. Table's wood, so the frame should be protected. Holes on my table were too small for the bolt to go through, so I'm just going to use the edge. And there it goes. Alright, there's the spacer. You can see the sealed bearings on the arm. Never thought about that. I thought they were just like bushings, but you have sealed bearings. My bad, in the 23 years I owned this frame, I never took that apart and greased the axles. So I'm amazed it held up so well. I'm doing a lot better with my new bike, with my my Diamondback 4C. That one I've ridden about 200 miles. I already took the links apart, greased them, and put everything back together, which took care of a little creak it had. All right. So when you put this together, that's the bolt. I'm going to take the spacers. So this I'm going to clean really well. I'm going to grease it up and I'll put it back together again. Frame, I already inspected it. Looks like it's good, in good condition. Now we can inspect here. There's no cracks. Those bearings actually turn pretty freely. Man, I wish I knew the size. Maybe later on another occasion I might replace those bearings. But I'm going to clean everything, clean that muck in there. You can see where friction, where the tire kicks up, sand and all that kind of stuff ate away at that. It's aluminum, so I'm not going to mess with it. The only other thing I noticed here, probably from some drop chains in the past, right there the frame has a little scratches. Same thing, it's aluminum, it's not gonna, nothing's gonna happen to it, so I'll probably just leave that as be. This part feels really light. This part we're not going to need because we're not going to put a front derailleur in. The other thing, this limits how long your post can be. So one of those little things that that come up when you're dealing with these older non-conventional frames. All right, so I'll clean it up, grease it, and then we'll put it all together. All right, so I cleaned all the parts, and what I did is I used some WD-40 to spray them down, and then wipe them down with a clean microfiber cloth, which is right there. And one thing I like about doing it that way is that you don't have to use degreaser and then rinse with water. This way I just spray them down, wipe them down, and I don't have to rinse them. They're nice and clean. They have a light oil coating. Of course, this is not a good lubricant. It's great. I love it for cleaning, but it's not a great lubricant. So I'm going to grease all these parts now, all these axles, and then reinstall them with. And I line up the axle. Try best laying down. The bolt went on this side, and then you have a spacing a spacer here, so that's all nice and lubed, the mating surfaces and the axle. Alright, the bolt. Last time we had to pound it out, so this time we might have to pound it in a little bit. We'll leave it like that for now. When we tighten it, it'll go in. Alright, same thing on the other side. We're gonna flick this guy around. I'm gonna put the spacer and the other side of the axle so that they meet up. Now this is stable enough where we can actually start to screw that in. I like to always do this by hand. Make sure you don't cross thread. These are really coarse threads, so it's very unlikely. Alright, so that's going in pretty far. What I'm going to do is, I don't have the torque specs to that. I'm guessing about about 8 Newton meters, 8 to 10. I'm thinking that on my carbon frame, it goes, the bigger pivots go to 10, so 10 millimeters, they go to 8, I believe. I'm just going to torque everything to 8 Newton meters and see how that goes. If anybody knows the specs, please let me know. I'm pretty sure it's pretty standard, about 8 Newton meters for a shock mount. This 8 to 10 Newton meters. Same thing with the shock. I greased the bearings. They actually don't go there, they go here. Okay, I cleaned the heck out of that shock, and it looks beautiful. It's nice when it's when things are just brand new. Okay, so this is gonna go like so. Okay, and these, since they're nice and lubricated now, they go right in. And the grease I used was the Parks, the Polylube 1000. That's like your typical, your classic bicycle grease. A lot of people use marine grease, which I bet you it's just about the same thing. Alright, so we're going to put the rear axle there with the washers on both sides. Grease those up too, just lube them up. And the same thing on the top, with a washer on each side. It's really nice when everything's clean and freshly greased. Everything just works so great. Alright, so I'll just tighten those to 8 Newton meters, and so the frame's back up, all lubed, all cleaned. I also cleaned the bottom bracket threads while I was at it, and in the next video I think what we'll do is install that bottom bracket, and then I'll show how to install a normal or conventional. This used to have not a rock shocks, oh my god, head shocks on it, and I have some adapters, and I'll show how to use the adapters to put a rock shocks or a regular shock on this frame. So hopefully I'll have the next video up in a few days, and we'll keep going with the build.